We are up to way number 26, which is Makir es Makomo, to know one's place. So, way 26 requires you to realistically evaluate your strengths and weaknesses relative to others. Not an easy task, but important. Learning how to make the assessment will help you know if you are the right person for the job, right? If you're the person best suited for the task. And if you are, then don't be held back by false modesty. If you're not, obviously, you have to know that someone else is better suited for you. So, for instance, if you arrive at the scene of an accident and you've taken a first aid course, and then a doctor shows up, right? Obviously, it makes more sense for you to step aside and let the doctor, who has way more skill, take care of the situation. So, in pursuing wisdom, you have to know who you are and where you fit in the greater scheme of things. You have to recognize what you do know and not be shy about sharing it, but you also can't be arrogant and presume to know everything. Arrogance ultimately is a major barrier to acquiring wisdom. So realize how little you understand, open yourself up to learning from other people, and that will help you gain additional wisdom. So before you talk, stop and think. Is this a time to step forward and share and assert myself, or is this a time to lay back and potentially learn something from someone else? So number one is it starts with you. In order to recognize your place in context, you first need to know where you stand. So don't be a puppet of society manipulated by family or friends or surroundings. Take responsibility for your convictions, your attitudes, your actions. Identify the areas of knowledge that you're missing and then try to fill in those areas of knowledge. When you make decisions, take responsibility for those decisions. Ask yourself, what's my position on the issue? Do I really know what I'm talking about? Do I have definitions for the things that I'm saying? Do I have evidence for the things that I'm saying? Is that me speaking or am I parroting someone else? So each of us has a unique role to play in the world. And we possess a unique combination of attitudes and personality and talents and timing and circumstance, right? Our role is dependent on many different things, not only our innate talents. So, an essential part of knowing ourselves is discovering that contribution, which our unique combination of factors makes uniquely ours, and then actually contributing it. Number two of this is to evaluate the source. So, A of evaluating the source is to avoid costly misjudgments. You have to learn how to evaluate other people's opinions. Oftentimes, we assume that the person who is sharing something is an expert simply because of their age or because of their experience or because of their prestige, right? And just because someone is successful, let's say in business, doesn't mean that they have the greatest advice on marriage or, right? So that idea is something that we have to start to look at a little bit more critically. When someone expresses a viewpoint, put it in perspective. Does the person really know what they're talking about, or are they just a know-it-all? Right? And B of this is when your knowledge is insufficient, don't let your ego get in the way. Never be too proud to turn to other people for advice. Find people who know more than you do in a specific area, and then seek out their wisdom. Number three of knowing your place is to adjust your relationships. One element of knowing your place is, again, understanding the dynamic of how you fit in with important relationships and gauging whether you need to potentially update the rules for those relationships. So, for instance, you may have fought with a sibling, growing up and still be 40 years old, right? And the rationale behind that doesn't really exist anymore. Find ways to adjust that relationship and deal with them on a more human, equal to equal level. Similarly, parents and children. So, a parent who treats a 25-year-old child the same as they did a 15-year-old child is obviously doing that child a disservice and is likely hurting their relationship, right? And vice versa. A child who's acting with their parent at 25 as they did when they were 10 or 15 is also missing out on the value of the relationship. So adjust the relationships as part of understanding where you fit. Number four of this is to fill the vacuum. Okay, so A of this is the Torah gives us a framework for the greatest leader of all time, Moshe Rabbeinu, right? And what do we learn first about Moshe Rabbeinu? He came out of the palace. He sees a Egyptian hitting a Jew, and it says he looks vayifen kol v'cho. He looks here, he looks there, right? Vayar ki ein ish, and he sees there is no man, right? And then he hits the Mitzri, and the rest of the story we all know. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu first do? He checked to see if there was someone else that was already taking responsibility for the situation. Maybe I don't need to step up. Maybe I'm not even the best person to step up, right? Hillel in Pirkei Avos, last week's chapter of Ethics of Our Father, says, "B'makom she'enish," in a situation where there is no man, no leader, "hishtadel lios ish," try to be the man, right? So part of this aspect of knowing your place is to identify those moments where you are the best person suited with the greatest degree of capability for the situation. If you are, step up. If you're not, step back. B of this is that knowledge is also responsibility. If you know something, you have a responsibility to share it with others. Right? Noach has given this example before, but if you have a cure for cancer and you don't share it, you're a murderer. Right? The idea being, and wisdom is obviously, a proverbial cure for cancer. So if you have wisdom and you've tested that wisdom and you know you have evidence of that wisdom and you know that it's real, share it, because that wisdom will impact other people's lives, give them greater happiness, give them a greater path in life. So a couple of applied wisdom ideas. First, ask 3 people for advice. Kind of work on that muscle of being able to say, I don't know everything and I need some advice. 2 is, again, being that knowledge is responsibility, share 3 pieces of wisdom. Over the next week, share 3 pieces of wisdom that you know.